Hi, Bart with the Bicycle Rider YouTube channel. And here on the Bicycle Rider, we talk about products, cycling products that give you a lot of bang for your buck. And today I would like to talk about a road bike, the Specialized Allez Sprint. And I definitely can talk about this bike because I've done several thousand miles on this bike under some pretty racy and fast conditions. And the Specialized Allez Sprint, if you're not familiar with it, is almost a budget-friendly bike that is highly capable. It is an aluminum bike rather than being the carbon, and I think that's where they're able to throw a lot of value into this bike. But I'm not going to just call it a regular aluminum frame. Specialized has come up with a welding technology and a hydroformed aluminum technology that really makes this bike heads and above some of the other aluminum bikes on the market. So, sometimes, I show up to a group ride and people are like, wow, is that an aluminum bike? Because everybody has carbon bikes, especially on the A group, the higher end. Carbon's, kind of, if you're not looking at price point, carbon's the way to go because the technology in the carbon nowadays is pretty superior. But aluminum has definitely come up in the ranks, and when I say aluminum, not all aluminum bikes, but the Specialized Smart Weld aluminum bikes. They're able to put a lot of technology into this bike, but make it very affordable for the end user. And that's one of the reasons I picked up this bike. I already had a very nice road bike, a carbon fiber Roubaix that I was riding, and wanted the edge on a couple of the local hardcore rides. There's one specifically called the Destroyer, and it is a smash and grab type of ride, and I wanted a road warrior. And after spending $6,000 on a road bike just a year ago, it was hard for me to justify going above that price point. I wanted something below that price point, and I started hearing about a lot of these crit racers buying the Specialized Allez Sprint as a very capable but fast bike. And so I figured I'd give it a try, and this was the Allez Sprint Expert. And I figured for around $2,000, how could I go wrong with the component spec that they were putting on this bike and all the hype that I'd heard about this bike being extremely fast. I said, let me go for this. So I made the purchase, and I have not looked back. I have ridden this bike in more situations than I ever thought I would. I said, the Destroyer is about a 40-mile hardcore, pretty much a road race. And I wanted a bike that was really fast on those 40, 50-mile rides, and I really wasn't too worried about the comfort. I wanted speed, and I wanted speed on a budget. I love the Venge, but the Venge was going to cost me 3 times what this bike was going to cost, and this was basically, they compared it to the Venge, the Tarmac, as far as stiffness, as far as feedback from the road, knowing that you were on a race rocket type of machine. But they did this at a very easy price point, and I think they must have saved some money building the aluminum frame compared to the carbon. But they spec'd this bike out with very nice components for the money. If you look at the shifting system, the hoods on this bike, you'll see Ultegra right here. So we've got Shimano Ultegra, which to me is a superior product compared to some of the other offerings, from SRAM and also from Shimano. So I really like Ultegra. Just a lot of times I can't afford it. This came with Ultegra hoods. It also came with an Ultegra rear derailleur. I'm still running the same running gear on this bike as far as chainring, 11-speed chain rings. I'm still running the same chain. I'm still running the same pulleys. I have changed the front sprocket, and I wanted to try this absolute black oval technology. And I read a lot about this, so it wasn't a real high-end upgrade as far as price goes, but I wanted to see if the oval chainring did what it was supposed to do and just not take everybody's word for it. And I have to say that the absolute black oval chainring has really performed really good. And I'll go into a whole nother video with that, because this video is mainly about the bike. So I have done a few upgrades to this bike, but a lot of that is because I was able to afford to do a few upgrades after only spending a little over $2,000 on this bike. It did come very well spec'd. I decided to go for the rim brake model to save a little weight over the disc brake model. And to tell you the truth, the disc brake model was sold out, and I said, I've been running rim brakes for a long time. I think it'll be fine for this road warrior that I want to put together. And, I really wasn't worried at that time about running tires bigger than a size 28. And, the disc brakes do let you, up your tire size, but I really wasn't into that game at the time. I kind of like wider tires now. And I have upgraded the rims. The specialized rims that came on this bike were the access rims. There's no problem with those rims, but I had a chance to get some Ritchie Zeta rims at a very good price, and I wanted to keep this bike more road bike-ish instead of doing aero disc wheels on a road bike. So I went with a traditional road wheel, and I really like these Ritchie Zetas. But the original wheels that came on this bike were definitely fast, definitely good. I just had the opportunity to upgrade, so I did. And I am running some Conti tires on this bike. When I said several thousand miles, I think last year I did over 5,000 miles on this bike right here. And I have had it on my trainer all winter long. So I mean, the miles on this bike, and it's still running fresh, it's still running true. But I do like the specialized Roubaix tires, the 25, 28s fit on this bike. It came with some turbo 25s, which were good tires. But with the road work I do, I wanted a more sturdy tire, so I went with a Roubaix 25, 28, and they worked good. I did wear them out after several thousand miles, and I wanted to try some Contis. So I bought some Conti 28s, and I've got a Conti 28 in the back, and it fits just fine. I tried a Conti 28 in the front of this bike, and there was some fitment issues, so I went down to a Conti 25. And Continental makes a good tire, but I am going to go back to the specialized Roubaix 25, 28s the beginning of the season. I really like the way that tire rode. But all in all, this bike has really been a performer. It has let me battle in the front of the pack, bar to bar with some guys that maybe on my $6,000 carbon fiber road bike, I might have backed off a little bit because I didn't want to crash my bike. I'm not saying that $2,000 is a cheap bike to crash, but it's the overall strength of the aluminum. I mean, I'm really not scared to bounce this bike off the pavement compared to my carbon fiber bike. And of course, no one wants to hit the pavement. But if I was going to hit the pavement, the aluminum bike would be the one I want to hit the pavement on. And I think that's why you see a lot of this bike in the crit racing, because crit racing, it's close territory. There is that chance that you could get in a crash or something, and a lot of these guys not only use this bike because it's fast, it's responsive, it's got the smart weld technology that puts the power to the ground through some really stiff bottom bracket tolerances, but it's fast, it's nimble, and that's why these guys use it for crit racing. Actually, this bike is so nimble and so fast that they made an S-Works version of an aluminum bike. And, Specialized reserves S-Works for their highest performing bikes. If this bike could not perform at that level, they would not have put an S-Works logo on this bike. And of course, mine is not the S-Works model, but the frame is very similar to the S-Works model. I think it's the S-Works, has more some higher end components. But what this bike did come with was a fact carbon fiber S-Works. It's the same fork that the S-Works has. So that's a very, very high-end fork that they put on a bike at $2,000. This fork has been very responsive. Several thousand miles of hardcore riding, and this fork, I like it better every time I ride it. The harder I push this bike, the better I like the fork. And it also came with a very aerodynamic S-Works seat post. So, it does have some traits of the S-Works built into, the Expert model. I wasn't quite sure how much I was going to like this bike, so you might see my head tube here has not been cut. I have claimed this bike mine. I am going to cut this head tube and size it right. But I at first said, well, if I don't like it, I'm going to sell this bike, and I wanted to make sure someone else could, adjust the head tube. But I think I'm going to have this bike around for a long time because it has just impressed me so much. I have or had a carbon fiber Roubaix, which was more of the bike that I used for some fondos, for some longer 100-mile rides, for some more fun rides, and not as performance orientated. And I ended up selling that bike to a friend of mine because it just fit him so good. I wasn't planning on selling that bike, but he tried it and it worked so well I couldn't take the bike back from him. So we did some horse trading, and now he's got my Roubaix. But I thought, I might need a long distance bike. But really, I have taken this bike on several centuries. And, most of the time when I'm doing a century ride, it's not such a social aspect. I try to hang in the front of the pack and be one of the first guys that crosses the line. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. But this bike has let me do several centuries comfortably. I don't really feel I need the performance geometry bike for that type of riding, where this bike has done everything from the Street Warrior to the Crit to the what I call long distance is about a 100-mile ride, and I've been extremely happy with this bike on all those different conditions. And I still can't believe that I have less than $2,000 on the initial purchase. I have done some upgrades over the years on this bike, but it has been a stellar bike. And for the money, if you're looking for a performance bike at a budget cost with a name brand like Specialized, please look at the Specialized Allez Sprint. I think Allez means fast in French, and this bike is fast, and it's so much more. And here at the Bicycle Rider, we try to bring you content that's valuable. If you're looking for a bike and you want a good review, some of my reviews might be a little bit long, but I get excited talking about this stuff. And, if you're getting ready to put your hard-earned money into something, you might want, a review from someone who's really ridden this bike. And, the YouTube platform was pretty new to us when we started, and for some reason, we've taken a liking to it, and people seem to be taking a liking to our videos. I've never really asked anybody to hit the subscribe button because I figured if you like it, you hit the subscribe button. But let me just remind you that there is a subscribe button, and if you hit it, it doesn't cost you any money, but it kind of helps us with YouTube to let YouTube know that people are watching our videos. So, hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. From the Bicycle Rider, Allez Sprint is a fantastic bike. Any questions, please, leave me a comment. I'll be glad to comment back on you. If you want any pictures of the welds or how beautiful this bike is, Gary, my cameraman, has got an awesome camera. We're glad to show any kind of information you'd like on this bike. And if you happen to be in the South Mississippi area and you want to try it for yourself, I'll let you ride this bike. Size 54. Awesome bike. Specialized Allez Sprint. Thank you.